Wizards general manager Will Dawkins said today in an interview that it's highly likely that we'll see Anthony Davis and Trae Young play on the floor for the Wizards this season. A lot of people are saying this is cap. I disagree.
You are Locked On Wizards, your daily Washington Wizards podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
DC family, you are locked on to the Washington Wizards, where you're part of our family. We thank you for making Locked On Wizards your first listen every single day. We're part of the Locked On Podcast Network, where it's your team free and available every day. And we thank you for making Locked On the #1 sports podcast network in the nation. Alongside the DC sports content creating Strober and Abdullah Ayubi, I'm Ben Strober, and I cover the Washington Wizards for Roundtable IO. AB, how's it going, man? Tress Way is staying in DC.
Forget about that, Ben. You got a fresh cut. You look like our boss, Nick Angstead, our friend from Locked On Mavs, man. You looking good, Bodie?
Hey, man, I saw someone was offering me Venmos to get a haircut. I saw someone call me Jimmy Neutron. It was time. Now I'm faded up.
No, my favorite one was Buzz from Home Alone. That was my favorite one.
That one is egregious. But now, man, I got the low taper fade like I'm Ninja right now. So if you're on the audio version of this podcast, go check it out on YouTube, because I'm looking fresh as hell right now, as I like to say. But no, we got a lot to get into today. Will Dawkins joined the Sports Junkies today. He said he thinks it's highly likely that we'll see Anthony Davis and Trae Young play on the floor for the Wizards this season. We're going to make the case for it, why he is telling the truth, and we'll give you why there is the case against it. And then we'll talk a little bit about Darryn Peterson to close out the episode, because he missed another game with flu-like symptoms, and there seems to be some drama, some baggage that surrounds that. So we'll talk about who's projected as the #1 prospect in the nation right now for the NBA draft. Let's start with it. I reported this morning after he joined the Sports Junkies, because I heard it in real time, and I tweeted out, and I'll give you the direct quote for you right here that we got. He said, Wizards general manager Will Dawkins said he believes it's highly likely that Trae Young and Anthony Davis play this season. He then said, that's the goal. We want to see our guys together so we can build camaraderie and build some continuity toward the end of the season. And I posted this, and I instantly got a bunch of replies saying, this is complete cap. Big Doc knows what he's doing. He's playing the mind games. He's trying to get the NBA off his back. But AB, I actually think this makes sense. And I think I know the path for where we might actually see those two play. But I want to get your thoughts first of all. Do you think these guys should take the floor for the Wizards this season?
Yeah, so when I first saw the tweet and heard, Ben, I thought it was shenanigans, because maybe the league told Will Dawkins, like, hey, we've got enough from Knicks fans complaining. Like, you got to chill out. We got to make sure that you guys aren't trying your best to tank. And on the other hand, maybe so. I think even though the reports of Chris Haynes saying that he's not going to be playing the rest of the season, even though that's obviously not true after what Will Dawkins said, at least, maybe there's a possibility where we'll see Trae Young and AD. And I saw someone on Twitter say there's going to be a 6-game stretch where the Wizards are playing really good basketball teams. So if there's any game of stretches I want to see those two come back, it's those games, because those games will at least be competitive with them, rather than when you're playing tanking teams. Like, for example, you're playing Indiana back-to-back coming up. You don't want to see AD and Trae. So Tankathon standings are really tight. I do think, Ben, after what Will Dawkins said, for some reason, even though I still want to call it shenanigans and BS, I still think there's a possibility they'll play, because, again, like, those are two toys that Wizards fans are dying to see. And that's just something that will hopefully not salvage the season, but it will just give you hope and optimism for what we're going to see next season.
All right, well, I'm going to make a prediction right now. So get your calendar out.
Oh, here we go.
Mark Tuesday, March 10th down in your calendar. Wizards play on the road against the Miami Heat. My prediction right now is that Anthony Davis and Trae Young will play in that game. Then they will play on March 12th against the Orlando Magic. Then you have a game against the Celtics. Then you play Golden State. Then you have 2 games in a row against the #1 seed in the East, who the Wizards somehow just beat, the Detroit Pistons. And then you play OKC and the New York Knicks. After that, I'm good. Kaput.
So that's the tough stretch, man, that I was talking about, right?
That's the tough stretch. You're playing essentially, let's see, you're playing 6 games in a 10-game span right there, or 12-game span, sorry. And then you have Utah, who softens up the schedule on March 25th. I think in that run of games, It'd be really interesting to see those two on the floor together, to see what the fit looks like. And I think it makes sense for these guys to play this year. I mean, that's been the plan all along. I think Wizards fans had the understanding that when they acquired Trae Young back in early January, that you were likely going to see him at some point this season because they're interested in seeing what the fit looks like. You want to see how a guy like Trae Young can integrate in this offense with your young players. You want to see how Trae Young and Anthony Davis can integrate together on the floor at the same time. I think it makes perfect sense for these guys to playing. One, Trae Young's going to help accelerate some of that offensive growth toward the end of the season. You know that he's a guy that's averaged over 10 assists in his career, a top-tier pick-and-roll creator and a lob passer. And for a guy in Alex Sarr in year number 2, we're not sure how much meaningful minutes we're going to see from him the rest of the season because of the way the Wizards have handled the rotation. I think it makes sense to see how much better they can be offensively and defensively in those games. And also, this is a perfect excuse for Trae Young and Anthony Davis to play on minutes restrictions because these guys are coming off legitimate injuries. There's no reason that they have to go out there and play 30-plus minutes. We know that's not reality. The Wizards' healthy starters right now aren't even playing those type of minutes. So you easily have those guys on a 20-minute restriction in those games. You're playing against some really tough teams where if you handle the lineups the way they have been the last couple of weeks, I don't think it really puts you in jeopardy of necessarily winning the games anyway. I think there's a lot of positive things that can come from them playing in those type of games.
Yeah, honestly, when the trade happened for AD, I just assumed that he was going to be shut down for the rest of the season. But the fact that we talked about this tough 7-8 game stretch coming up, and you put him on minute restrictions. You see other teams like the Jazz, they'll bench Lauri Markkanen or any of their top-tier players like Keontae George in the fourth quarter, and they'll purposely lose. And then when they're asked about it, the head coach, they have no answer for it. So I see that case for the Wizards where you want to make sure that you're building that chemistry with these young guys because, again, next season is when it's all right, everything's off the table. You go out there and ball out because we're not going to be tanking anymore. We're not going to be under the cloud of a top 8 protection pick and making sure that you finish bottom 4. It's going to be exciting, Ben. AD and Trae on the court at the same time, and then how those two will pair up alongside Sarr, Trae Johnson, Keyshawn George. I can't wait because, again, this Tankathon standings, and we'll get into it a little bit, it's tight, Ben. And the Wizards technically got a dub yesterday because the Pelicans and Nets won somehow. I don't know why, but
and the Jazz.
And the Jazz won.
And the Jazz aren't even hiding it, AB. Will Hardy, their head coach, after the game, they asked him, said, did you think about putting Lauri Markkanen and Jaren Jackson Jr. back in the game for the fourth quarter after he had benched him? He said, no, not at all.
But, hey, let's target the Wizards and point at them for tanking. What are we doing here, Utah?
It's crazy, man. It's going to be disgusting basketball throughout the rest of the season for a bunch of different teams. And obviously the Wizards play the Pacers in back-to-back games next week. That's going to be
It's just so funny, Ben, growing up, we're so, as kids, the message is always to go out there, let's win, let's play hard. But as a Wizards fan, hopefully this is the last time where you're lose, lose, lose.
I mean, last night I tweeted when I was watching the scoreboards of all these games, trying to see how things shaped up. I put out a tweet with one of the results, and I said, I'm sick of this S. I'm so done. I'm so done with doing this. I'm done with talking about it. And I hate it for this reason especially because you have young players on this team who are developing and they're doing their best to get better and go out there and compete every single night. So I don't want to undermine the players that are out there playing for their livelihoods every single game. I don't want to undermine a guy like Will Riley who's made significant strides offensively. I don't want to undermine what Sharif Cooper's done in this opportunity that he's had to make the most of it. It doesn't feel fair for me as the host of this podcast to go out there and say I'm actively rooting for the losses. I think we understand that that's the reality of the situation and it's going to happen on a lot of nights, but it is tough to every night kind of hope your team loses because you think about the 30,000-foot view instead of the 30-foot view in these situations, but you don't want to disrespect the organization and the players right now and say man, I want these guys to go out there and stink every single night. It's just a tough reality to deal with when you're covering a team like this. So yeah, next year there's not going to be any more training wheels for a lot of these young players as well. There's going to be higher expectations. They're going to be expected to take another jump, get forward, and be ready to compete, play in some competitive basketball games. I'm looking forward to it.
I can't lie. We talked about Utah. We talked about New Orleans, Ben. I think Sacramento with 12 wins, and it's funny their last win was against Washington. It's going to be hard to keep up with them, Ben. They are actively. I mean, I don't even know. Like they just aren't good. I'm assuming you have Zach LaVine, Russell Westbrook. Their future is just so like. I just don't think they're getting anywhere, and it's going to be hard to match their losses because right now they're 12-43, and Washington is 14-38. But right now you're third in the Tankathon standings. So it was a good day yesterday for a Wizards fan.
Basically, got to win without winning. All right, we gave you the case for AD and Trae Young playing in some games for the Wizards this season. What is the case against it? We tell you that when we come back. Finding a doctor you actually like can feel like discovering a diamond in the rough. Sure, you want someone who's in network nearby and has availability, but you also want a doctor who listens and makes you feel comfortable and explains things clearly. That kind of doctor exists, and finding them is easy with ZocDoc. ZocDoc is a free app and website that helps you find and book high-quality in-network doctors so you can find someone you love without all the hassle. We're talking about booking in-network appointments with more than 150,000 providers across all 50 states, covering over 200 specialties from primary care and dentistry to dermatology and eye care. I'll admit it, I've definitely put off doctor appointments in the past, longer than I should for sure. Between work, life, and everything else, it's easy to put a delay on those type of things. ZocDoc makes the process simple. You can search by specialty or symptoms and actually build a care team that works for you. Whether you want to go in person or do a video visit, ZocDoc makes it easier either way. Stop putting off those doctor appointments and go to ZocDoc.com/LockedOnNBA to find and instantly book a doctor you love today. That's ZocDoc.com/LockedOnNBA. ZocDoc.com/LockedOnNBA. Thanks to ZocDoc for sponsoring this message. The new year is here, and it's a perfect time to reset your routine and refresh your space. If you're spending more time at home, you might as well love how it looks and feels. That's why you should turn to Wayfair. It's a one-stop shop for getting your home back on track, from bedding and mattresses to storage solutions for every room. Wayfair makes it easy to start fresh. Wayfair has everything you need for a full home refresh all in one place, whether you're updating your living room, organizing your space, or upgrading your work from home setup. Wayfair's huge selection makes it easy to find what exactly works for your style and budget. I picked up new bedding and accent pillows from Wayfair, and it completely changed how my bedroom feels. It's cleaner, calmer, and more put together. Shopping is easy, delivery is smooth, and everything arrives exactly as I expected. It made everything getting back into routine this new year feel a lot more manageable for me. Get organized, refreshed, and back on track this new year for way less. Head to wayfair.com right now to shop all things home. That's WAYFAIR.com. Wayfair, every style, every home. We thank you for making Locked On Wizards your first listen of the day, and thank you for making Locked On the #1 sports podcast network. If you haven't already, go check out the new Everydayer Club, access to ad-free audio feed for Locked On Wizards. It's compatible with wherever you get your podcasts. Invite to the members only Locked On Everyday Club Discord as well. AB and I, we in there. We can chat Wizards, we can talk NBA, whatever you want. Go to LockedOnWizards.supercast.com or tap the link in the show notes to learn more. All right, the case against it, AB. I think it's pretty obvious why a lot of people don't want Anthony Davis and Trae Young to play the rest of the season. So I guess real quick we could break down like what some of the thoughts are from people. I've seen people saying it doesn't matter. We don't need to see these guys play. We know exactly what they bring to the table as a player. This doesn't even matter. And I disagree with that sentiment because you have to see how the guys fit together. I think at the end of the day, you'll see them establish camaraderie over the course of a season. You'll see them build chemistry with all these guys as the course of a season goes along. But like, there are questions that you kind of want answers to. And I feel like you can get some of these answers actually pretty early on throughout just seeing what this looks like. Is this going to accelerate the development of a guy like Alex Sarr? Or does it slow it down? Is this going to make Trae Johnson an even better player than he is right now? There's a lot of questions that I think can be answered in actually a pretty short amount of time.
Yeah, I think it would be exciting because, again, like I said earlier, you traded for these assets, and as a Wizards fan, you want to see glimpses of what you're going to see next year at Capital One Arena. And a part of me also is looking at the Tankathon standings, and it's like, if Brooklyn somehow and New Orleans somehow you create a gap when it comes to your wins compared to them, as long as you finish bottom four, that's what you want. If there's that big gap, then maybe that could affect in, like, say, if you're general manager in the front office, say, oh, go out there, let them play. We have a good cushion between them. But if it's really tight, then there's going to be skepticism on how many games both these guys will play, because Trae Young and AD, when they're playing, they're going to impact the game both sides of the floor offensively. Not much defense from Trae Young, but it's okay since you got Keyshawn, Bilal, Alex, and Davis. I think AD and Sar, that combo, that front court duo, we just made a video about it. I think it can be lethal if both these guys are healthy. And also AD being a mentor for Alex Sar. What other guy in the league would we want over Anthony Davis right now to be a mentor for a guy like Alex Sar when we know his ceiling as a 20-year-old? He's a potential superstar in the league, a top 5, top 7 center. And AD at one point was a top 5 player in the league. So I think the case against it, injuries and whatnot. But again, I think it's just going to come back to context, Ben. If that cushion isn't large enough, then I think you just don't want to risk it, and you don't want to lose that draft because we all know you're not going to, but the goal is to make sure you're bottom 4.
Yeah. And injury aside is not even really anything I'm worried about. I think one of the things Dawkins said as well with Davis and his injuries in the past, because they asked how they will plan to like reconcile that, essentially how they'll manage it. They said they think Davis is fortunate that he hasn't had a ton of like season-ending big surgery injuries. He said like a lot of little different dinks that have kind of roughed him up over the years. And with that being said, like I don't really worry too much about Trae Young and his health, like in a short span, if he had to play some games for this team, considering like he's probably like relatively healthy at this point. Like they're working him back slowly, obviously right now. So I think he's eager to get out there and play some basketball. And I think if you have him play that 6 to 8 game stretch, like you're not really risking any. I mean, you're risking injury anytime a guy steps on the floor. Like opening day next year, both those guys could be out for the season on one play. So like I don't think you really have to say like, oh, you're running this massive risk by having them out there right now. You're not going to have them for next year. You want to see what it looks like because there's going to be an expectation for this team to figure it out, maybe even early on in the season next year. You want to see them be more competitive, play in these high-level basketball games. And I think if you can get some of that experience of these guys playing together under your belt before, the preseason next year and then the regular season, I think it'd be beneficial for them long term.
Yeah. And honestly, Ben, I'm still on the fence. I think now, after what Will Dawkins said, I have some affirmation that they are going to play. But the amount of games, I think it's just going to depend on context in that stretch, that tough stretch where you're playing the Pistons, and hopefully by then the Pistons will take the Wizards seriously, because I still, even till this day, Ben, I still don't know how the Wizards ended up winning that game in Detroit. I understand Bilal was making some crazy shots and Will Riley was going insane, but man, if you're the Pistons, the next couple of days you blow up the New York Knicks. The NBA just doesn't make any sense. But yeah, I'm excited, Ben. Like, a team with Anthony Davis and Trae Young under these young guys, I legit think that next year you could potentially, the ceiling is that 5th seed if you add a Darryn Peterson, AJ DeBonza, Boozer, Caleb Wilson. It's going to be exciting. I don't know if you saw, Ben, shout out to Ben Standig. There was a report that the Wizards right now are worth nearly $5 billion. I mean, did you think that, like, that was your prediction if someone asked you?
Is that monumental or just the Wizards?
Okay, that's a good question. So that's a good evaluation. I just saw Ben's tweet, and I don't know, but maybe the value went up a little bit after the AD and Trae Young trade. But just in general, like the perception of the league and how the front office is moving, people are starting to understand and respect what the Wizards are doing outside of Knicks fans who are upset about tanking. So next season, the expectations is you go out there, you got to win every single game and compete.
Absolutely. I want to give you the injury report for tomorrow's game against Cleveland. I'm going to give it to you right now. Bilal is questionable. Keyshawn is questionable. Anthony Gill is questionable. Anthony Davis is out. D'Angelo Russell is out. He's not even with the team. Cam Whitmore is obviously out, and Trae Young is out. Jaden Hardy is not on this injury report, so I'm working on getting confirmation, but I think that means we'll see him make his Wizards debut. So that'll be kind of exciting to see, AB.
Yeah, I think Jaden Hardy could be a piece where he could give you some. I don't want to say microwave score because I didn't watch much of him. I remember our good friend Nick Angstead from Locked On Mavs said when the team was up 20 or down 20, he would go out there and ball out. So maybe that's something he could bring here. And I think that's one of the underrated pieces outside of AD that was involved in that trade. D'Lo, Ben, do you think he's getting bought out? I mean, they bought out Dante Exum, but I feel like they would have done that by now, I'm assuming, right?
Well, they just waived him. They might have to buy out D'Lo. I don't think he's going to be with the team, and I'm fine with that. I'm not really worried about it. That situation will resolve itself, however it may be at this point. One other quick add. So Keyshawn being questionable with the left ankle sprain, I think that's a good sign that obviously like nothing serious happened the other day because he did leave the game against Miami after rolling his ankle. So good to see that like it's nothing like too serious right now. But if I had to put money on it, probably wouldn't see him play tomorrow. But he is questionable for what it's worth right now.
Yeah, it makes sense. You want to be cautious, and again, you see what you can do against Cleveland, and then after that, it's the 2 games against Indiana, right, Ben?
Yeah, man. After the All-Star break, we're gonna get a nice little break coming up. We're gonna see our rising stars. Yeah, I want to see Keyshawn playing the Rising Stars game. So hopefully, like everything's good there, and you get to see him and Trae and Alex play in the Rising Stars game this weekend. That'd be pretty fun.
Bro, did you see Bobby Portis and Damian Lillard's off topic? They're both in the 3-point competition.
Yeah, I don't care. I don't care about anything in the NBA. Like All-Star Weekend is just it's terrible now at this point. Like it's pretty uninteresting to me. I'll watch it. Obviously, I'm definitely going to be interested in Rising Stars, but like the All-Star game, oh my god, man! Like it's jumped the shark so many years ago. It's jumped the shark in every league basically, but it's a tough reality. All right, AB, the number 1 prospect in the 2026 NBA draft, Darryn Peterson, missed another game last night. And there's a little bit more drama surrounding it this time. Let's talk about it when we come back. Tax season doesn't have to take over your life. This year, TurboTax is making it easier than ever just to hand things off and move on with your day. With TurboTax Full Service, you can have your taxes done for you by a trusted local expert, start to finish without the stress or guesswork. Instead of spending hours trying to figure out forms, you can meet with a local TurboTax expert in person or connect online. They handle everything from W-2s to self-employed forms and work to get you every deduction. You can upload your documents, go about your day, and get updates right in the TurboTax app. It's a huge time saver, and it gives real peace of mind to know that an expert is handling something so important for you. For a limited time, you can have your taxes done for you by a local TurboTax expert for just $150 all in if a TurboTax expert didn't file for you last year. Just file by February 28th. Take taxes off your plate and get back to your life. Visit TurboTax.com/local to book your appointment today. Darryn Peterson, man, there's been so many different conversations that have surrounded him because of the health and the hamstring injury and whatever else has plagued him. Yesterday against Arizona, like we were slated for some like absolute must-see hoops yesterday. Darryn Peterson against the number 1 team in the nation, like a raucous environment in Lawrence, Kansas, and the Jayhawks won anyway, handing Arizona its first loss of the season, 82-78. Darryn Peterson warmed up for this game and appeared like he was ready to go, but then he was ruled out with flu-like symptoms. And there might have been a little bit more drama that kind of surrounded this entire thing, which makes it really interesting, AB. I'm pulling up the exact note that I got for it right here. So someone from Barstool, Arizona, which I think you take Barstool as a source, like you don't take a lot from it and say like, I don't know if that's really the case or not. Mm-hmm. And it's this guy that's sitting at the scorer's table saying, so he's sick and he didn't tell anyone in practice. And Bill said, don't half-ass it. And if you're not going to play, sit. If not, sit. And then Darryn Peterson, F it, I'm out. That's what the Barstool person said. And then Daniel Burke, who is the Senior Associate AD for Strategic Communications for Kansas Athletics, quote tweeted. He said the person texting in this video is a contracted crew worker who handles official stats during the game for ESPN. He does not work for Kansas, and he's not affiliated with the athletic department in any way. He has no inside information and was speculating. We are handling this internally. I don't know. It's kind of a weird, like, he said situation at this point with Darryn Peterson. I think the talent is still too ridiculous to pass up on right now, but a lot of people, Wizards fans included, are starting to, like, be too concerned about the guy's health and then maybe the attitude towards playing also. AB, what are you thinking?
Yeah, when it comes to Darryn Peterson's health and him missing games, the one slight thing that I'm holding on to by a thread is the fact that Kyrie Irving didn't play many games at Duke and still was a number 1 overall pick. But outside of that, availability, Ben, that's your best ability. And with Darryn Peterson, especially since this team next year is going to be expected to play, it's not like he cannot play and we're trying to lose games. Next year, it's different. Everything's going to be loose. Kick the tires. Everyone's going to play. I don't know, honestly, when it comes to this idea of him not wanting to play because it's flu-like symptoms and then this text message exchange. I don't know. But I'll say one thing's for sure. If he's out there, he produces, man. We saw that against Texas Tech. We saw that against BYU. And and Kansas beat this Arizona team without Darryn Peterson, who was their best player undisputedly. So March Madness coming up, I need to see him play in every game, Ben. If this is still a lingering issue going into March, then there's some cause for concern because the one thing you want, as talented as DP is, AJ, Cameron, Caleb, they're consistent and they're going out there and playing. So
Yeah, he's too talented. Like, the guy simply produces every time he's on the floor, and he makes it look effortless when he does it. And I think the scoring ability and the ceiling that he has as a player is something that I just don't see a lot of teams passing up on. Also, I take this situation, Darryn Peterson, his family, and everyone around him in his camp, they're well aware that, like, this guy is the number one prospect right now. And because he had the little nagging hamstring injury, like, you have to imagine that there could be people in his ear or people that are in Self's ear in Kansas, like, saying, hey, look, man, we're focused on the bigger picture, which is going to the NBA and molding out a really lucrative NBA career, a prosperous NBA career, and they don't want to take the chance in college. And I know, like, college is ridiculous now because you make serious amounts of money playing the sport. So players get looked at completely. Remember, like, Coleman Hawkins last year broke down in tears because people were sending him hate messages and calling him trash because he performed pretty poorly for Kansas State. And they're, like, referencing that the guy was making $2.5 to $3 million on his NIL deal. And at the end of the day, like, when players are making that type of money, there is almost an expectation that they're going to be treated like professional athletes. And whether that's fair or not is up for interpretation, but it has changed the way people will feel about a player like this. I think if this were 2018, when there wasn't NIL involved and players weren't getting paid, I don't think people would be batting as much of an eye about this.
yeah, that's a good point. It's kind of a curveball, Ben, but if Darryn Peterson didn't play another game in college basketball, do you still think he's a lock to be a top 3 pick?
Absolutely.
100%.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if he doesn't play another game because his hamstring was hurt or whatever, like, he'll be healthy by next season. It's not going to keep him out. So, I mean, maybe it drops him down to 2 or 3, but he's not falling out of
But
the
do you
top
think
3.
the gap right now between him and AJ, is it getting wider by the day, or do you think it's a little tight?
I just, after watching them square off together, I was firmly team Darryn Peterson. I felt like there was actually a slight gap between the two players. And that's not a knock on AJ because I think he has an insanely high ceiling. And I think he's going to be an incredible player in this league. But I just thought Darryn Peterson was that good. In the time where I've sat down and watched him, he has looked that good to me. And I don't know, the injury stuff and the drama, I guess, that's surrounding it is interesting. I think people are going to monitor it. Like, we're going to see how those medical evaluations pop up in the pre-draft process. I think that will maybe tell teams more, that will indicate, like, whether he falls or not in this draft.
And I'm just thinking about it, Ben. If Trae's going to be here, extension-wise, him, Trae Johnson, Trae Young, DP as in him, I wonder how that lineup is going to look in rotations. It's just things you're looking down the road to. It's going to be interesting. There's going to be a point in time where there's going to be you're only limited to playing 5 guys, obviously, in the NBA on the court. So trying to figure out the rotations, Coach Brian Keefe, who knows his future here in Washington. So a lot of things down the road that we're looking at, but it's one thing for sure. Washington needs to hit on a home run draft pick, and that starts with landing a top 4 pick.
Yeah, no, that's like the whole point of this episode, I guess. Like, do people believe if AD and Trae Young even play, will they still be able to have a draft pick this year? Will they get themselves out of the proper odds they think they need to land the best possible draft pick? I mean, Dawkins been talking about it. He said, like, we hope the lottery gods have our favor. So, that they think about that stuff, and they don't want to lose out on that pick. Like, we understand that. That's a very easy thing to tell. AV, like, it's crazy that we're getting to this time where, remember 3 years ago when this whole rebuild started, we were like, oh, man, I just wish we could fast forward to 3 to 4 years from now to see where this team is, and, like, maybe there's going to be a young core of players. Maybe they'll be competitive again. We're almost there. We're at the light at the end of the tunnel at this point. It's kind of wild. Yeah, it's kind of wild to think about that you've gotten to this point of Wizards fandom and where they are in the rebuild, and you can start to, like, really just sit back and look and say, wow, like, we really survived some really tough times over the course of the last 3 years, and hopefully you're getting out of it now.
I've had some buddies, Ben, who I haven't talked to Wiz basketball in over a couple of years talk to me and saying, yo, who are we taking in the first round? What do you think the rotations are going to look like next year? What games are we going to? I love it, Ben.
Right, and you were like, you care about the Wizards? You haven't talked to me about the Wizards in 4 years.
Yeah, you weren't here when Johnny Davis was out there going and doing the MJ-type layups. You weren't there when I'm trying to think of some other guys that we went through during the rebuild, Ben. Danilo Gallinari, was he on the court at the time? Okay, yeah. Danilo Gallinari and Tyus Jones. You weren't there when Kyle Kuzma was going out there and going 2 of 17 from the field goal range. It's just all those moments were all worth it, knowing that at the end of the day we're going to be able to complete this rebuild, having veterans like Anthony Davis and Trae Young alongside these young stars and Trey Johnson, Keyshawn, Alex Sarr. I think the lottery gods are going to be on our side coming up, Ben, because it just makes sense. This is the last time where you're going to be in the lottery, hopefully for at least 5 to 6 years. No more looking at Tankathon. Wizards fans can be happy that they landed their blue chip guy.
I hope you're right, and because it'd be a perfect culmination to this process, this long process that was painful, but something that needed to happen, and a process that the front office never turned course from. So that'd be the ultimate culmination to see them complete the rebuild with a top 3 pick in this draft. That would be excellent to see. That'll do it for today's episode of Locked On Wizards. We thank you for making Locked On Wizards your first listen every single day. If you're on YouTube, we send you to the first ever 24/7 NBA stream, courtesy of the Locked On Podcast Network. If you're on audio, check out Locked On Fantasy Basketball, where Josh Lloyd helped you get your lineup right over the final 2 weeks of the season here. For my co-host Abdullah Ayubi, I'm Ben Strober. Talk to you later, DC family.